Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and today I have got game 1 of a best of 3. It is between the lovely Protoss player spawning in the lower left position of Neoplanet S. It is NRS's Welmu. And his opponent up in the top right, the Blue Zerg from Team Acer, Bly. And this is from the Go for SC2 monthly finals. It is going to be a swish best of 3, that I know. And therefore it should be very, 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 very exciting. I'm really excited to be casting this. I'm desperately trying to build up a bit of a stock and backlog of videos for my YouTube, so this is actually probably going to get released quite a few days after I recorded it, and the reason for that I can't go into, but it's to do with casting. And if you follow my Twitter, which is down here under my mouse cursor, you will be able to find out all about it, because I'll be releasing information on there about some very exciting casting stuff I'm going to be doing over the coming weeks, and you will not want to miss it, of that I assure you. But yeah, anyway, we've got an extract trick out of here from Bly, just because he wants to be pretty fly for a Bly guy, and all in all, from Welmu, he's going for a Forge Fast expansion, or he could go Nexus first. It's possible. It would be really risky on this map, but you can do it. It's not insane. Spawning pool coming out from Bly though. It should be a Forge. Please be a Forge, Welmu. Make a Forge. Go on. Thank you. Okay. The reason I'm going to explain this a bit more, because I just made a big deal about getting this Forge down rather than a Nexus first, and the reason being is because this rush distance is not really very long. That's pretty obvious to everyone, I hope. If Zerglings came out, and this was like a 10 pool, and 9 pool, and 8 pool, or something like that, and there was just a lot of Zerglings pumped, and it was a Nexus first, you would be in so much trouble on this map. It would be insanely bad. You'd probably just lose it. And in game 1 of a best of 3, not the sort of risk you want to be taking. You want to be playing relatively safe, in my opinion. And the reason you should do that in a best of 3 is because ultimately you want to flesh out your opponent. You want to be like, okay, let's try and get through all the phases of the game. The early game, the mid game, and the late game. Let's try and get a bit of a feel for where you are not so confident. Let's try and work out where I could possibly try to exploit your play in game 2, maybe even game 3, and make the most of it. But it looks like Bly just wanting to get a bit more of an aggressive opening out and try and scare Welmu a bit. So he's got 6 Lings already on their way through. 6 Zerglings is a lot at this stage of the game. Usually you'd see just 2, and one of the reasons Bly is likely to be going for more Zerglings is because taking a third on this base isn't the easiest thing in the world. It's really not. It can be a little bit awkward. It can be a little bit dangerous because there's lots of attack paths through, and if you come up here to defend, your natural is exposed from the bottom, etc. But for the moment, Welmu shouldn't have any problems. He's got this complete wall off done. It's quite a narrow blocking area, and that's ultimately just safe times. These Zerglings are here ready. Another pylon being forced to go down, unfortunately, because actually Welmu cancelled that previous one a tad early, but with only 3 Zerglings remaining there, unless there was a big follow-up, safe to cancel because, well, the cannon would take out 2 and only 1 would get it, and the probes could deal with a single Zergling on their lonesome. The Nexus is now done. 2 gas on their way for Welmu. Meanwhile, though, for Bly, he's not really following this up with too much. He's got a gas. And those of you who watch lots of ZVP will know that the gas is really unusual. This is probably going to be followed up with a Roach War, maybe a very early Zergling speed, because really the transition you'd normally see from a Zerg against the Forge Fast expansion is to take a quick third. Actually about 4 to 5 minutes. We're already at the 5-minute mark, so it's already exceptionally late. This gas is going to delay it even more, and that means that if you're going to delay your expansion that long economically, you won't be in a good spot. So what you've got to do instead is try and get some aggression going, and that's what Bly is going to be aiming for this game. And there we go, Zergling speed on its way down, so you can already get quite aggressive. This probe going to come up. See, there's no hatchery there, and this should be a bit of an alert to Welmu that, hang on, this isn't quite the norm. I need to get in the base and work out what is happening and how I can appropriately defend against it. And as long as Welmu does that, then he shouldn't have too much issue. He's just coming down to check the other potential third base location. And once he sees no hatchery there, that's really very sure. The only other thing that could be going on is some kind of funky thing like an expansion being taken somewhat hidden. But as we can see, the expansion is now coming down, but this started at just before the 6-minute mark. So essentially 2 minutes later than a lot of Zerg players would get, or at least 1.5 minutes later. So because of that, Welmu should still be aware that there's the potential for some aggression to come down, and also any 2 base plays might not be as effective. But Welmu, who's get his 3rd and 4th gas, plus the mothership core coming down, but other than that, not revealing any tech. No +1 coming down yet. and that's critical to note, because if the +1 was coming down, we might be expecting some kind of gateway push, but probably more likely to be Stargate now, and indeed, just as I say that, the Stargate gets thrown down. So this could now be really one of two main options of the possible third. The two main ones are going to be Phoenix or an Oracle. The advantage of the Oracle is that if you get your opponent by surprise, you can deal a lot of damage very quickly, but it's much more of a high risk because they're quite squishy. If it's Phoenix though, you can definitely keep harassment going, you can pick off overlords around the map, which there are quite a few already, and that can be great. The final option is that it's going to be a Void Ray, and Void Ray openings allow you to pick off the overlords, can potentially allow you to do a little bit of damage and harassment, but are mainly for more the mid-game and going for some, say, Void Ray Colossus compositions, which can be very potent and difficult to deal with. Double Evolution Chamber though coming down from Bly at the moment. His third base is up and running, he's getting that third queen, and Phoenix will be on the cards here for Welmu, as well as that Warp Gate Tech nearly finished and +1 on its way. And considering the robotics facility is already done, this isn't going to be just an all-in Phoenix play or trying to do too much. It's just to gain map awareness, force the overlords back, and generally just allow Welmu to take back map vision and really try and stop too much from going on. But as we can see, we already from Bly have the Overlord speed upgrade done, which just means that these Overlords will be able to get back to base safely. But just look at what this is doing to Bly's vision. He is losing so much of it, and that means that any pushes that do come through could be a lot better. Of course, the robotics facility was spotted by Bly, so he knows that that's down. He doesn't know about the robotics bay yet, the switch into Colossi, but can probably guess it by the fact that he didn't see really any gateways or anything like that, just saw the Phoenix, and that alone, plus the robotics facility, is a big giveaway. Hydras are on their way down, but of course Hydras up against Colossi aren't going to do too well, especially without Roach support. And as we can see, no Roachron is down in the structure stab. The third base is only just starting to get up to saturation now. 61 drones are down, but definitely more need to come out fairly soon. The Muscular Augments upgrade on its way, as well as the 1-1 missile attack upgrade. So that means the Bly can go for some really aggressive play. These Overlords spreading forward, going to make a little bit of a creep highway here, just to really allow quick attack paths. But with so many Phoenix down the field, a lot of Overlords could potentially go down. Some Hydralists trying to come out to deal with this before, obviously, the Muscular Augments is done. We need to make sure that the creep's down, so those Hydras can have a bit of a party. But the first Colossus nearly down. We don't have yet Extended Thermal Lance even started, and that just means that those Hydras can potentially get a snipe off. The third base trying to get secured here by Welmu, who does have a decent number of sentries for the time being, plus that mothership core that will help with the Nexus cannon. Got a lot of energy banked up on it already. But just look at this creep highway, going straight to his opponent's base. Bly is being ever so aggressive here, also trying to take out a lot more Overlords, already doing some nice damage. 600 resources lost for Bly, compared to just 150 of Welmu. So Welmu definitely coming off with a cost-effective engagement, trying to get a couple more Overlords as well, and of course with only a few Hydras reinforcing, these Phoenix are relatively safe to do so. One going down though, because most of the attention down here as the Hydras try and push in. An awful lot of force fields being used just to deal with a few Hydralists, but Welmu knows that if he keeps the critical mass numbers down, then he should be safe against this. As long as the Hydra count doesn't get too high, the Colossi can do some nice damage, and with the second one just about to pop out, then to be honest, he shouldn't have too much to worry about, because once that second Colossus hits the field, he's going to start being able to shred through these circling Hydra forces. But here the Phoenix do get taken out. That was a bit of a misstep there by Welmu. Needs to be paying more attention to those Phoenix. It's going for the wall off here with those two gateways, but of course just a couple of Zerglings and Hydras could punch through these rocks and get up into there. But in terms of the work count, 58 to 61, that's actually quite good for Welmu. Not as much as a lead as Bly would like. He has started his fourth base up to the very top left, but currently just the dance of death going on between these Hydra Zerglings and of course Colossi gateway units. The second Colossus is just popping to the field though, and the positioning of Welmu's armor is really smart, because he's got the option to walk up the cliff with these Colossus, and with no high ground vision, that could be a bit of a problem for Bly. So the micro potential is there, and as we can see, those Colossi just started stepping back, ready to keep themselves safe. A couple of time warps going down. That just means the retreat for Bly will be less effective. A few more force fields being used as well, preventing those units from getting out of range. Extended Thermal Lance is now done for those Colossus, and that just means that ultimately the Zerglings, the Hydralists, force back yet again. But Bly being quite cost effective here, but as the Colossi count increases, it's going to get harder and harder for just pure Zergling Hydra to be effective. That's why Bly is getting the Spire down to get some Corruptors out. He may also try and get a Hive out relatively quickly too, so he can utilize, for example, Vipers, get some good abducts down on these Colossus, just to make sure that he can snipe them off very quickly and very easily. A couple of Zerglings getting taken out here. The 4th base nearly up and running. The 3rd has been going for a long time though for Welmu. The 5th is also coming down for Bly. He's double expanding, because when you're spreading out like this is the best way to go. Expand everywhere and just try and force your opponent to commit to one or the other. But of course, in Heart of the Swarm, as opposed to Wings of Liberty, Protoss players have the option for a mass recall, which means that even if they commit over to destroy this base and you counterattack, as long as they've got their mothership core with them, they can just hit one button and be back home in a few seconds only. So that's great news. Infestation Pit is coming down. The Spire gonna get scouted. That's good news. Some more Stalkers getting added into this composition now. Currently 9 on the field, a few more on the way. The 4th Colossus just joined the battle, so that just means that with those additional Colossi, Hydra Zergling is not going to be effective from now on. You're going to need more. And actually, Bly not going for the Corruptors, but instead the Mutalisks. And the reason this is potentially a smarter move is because obviously with the option of the Stargate there, Welmu could go for a good high count of Voidways. Voidways destroy Corruptors so easily because they're armored, whereas Mutalisks do deal okay with them. But of course the Mutalisk damage output against Colossi is not quite as high, and that's something that obviously Bly is taking as a trade-off in order to be a bit safer against those against Voidways if they came out. The other thing though is these mutas do have a lot more harassment potential. 1 cannon down in the natural, nothing in the main, and with no units here to really defend, the Mutalisk could get some good damage off. There's a sizable number of them on the field already with a good 17, and the cannon could get focused down very easily. But actually, no, Bly is going to go back in to deal with that, and we see that a couple of Stalkers on the way back, but 3 Stalkers will not be enough here. A lot of probes going down. This is a good little push coming out from the Acer player, and he is getting an incredible number of probe kills, but that just triggers Welmu to go for the counter push. He knows he's lost a lot of economy from that. Down to just 54 probes, 19 probes were killed by those Mutalisks, and that just means that now Welmu, he's got to do some good damage. If he doesn't, then ultimately his opponent will get ahead economically. But in comes the massive base trading push. The Stalkers will not be enough to deal with this. The Hydra's going to come through, really start cleaning up absolutely everything. The base trade situation coming down in full effect. The Mothership Core has been taken out, so that means no option for a mass recall. And of course, with these additional bases spread everywhere, Bly does have a lot further for Welmu's units to try and cover. Meanwhile, of course, Welmu's base is just getting torn apart by these Mutalisks. More mutas are in production, and even the standing army here for Welmu at the moment is not really enough, in my opinion, to be able to defend this. He's got 22 Stalkers and a couple of cannons in order to try and deal with 28 Mutalisks, 42 Zerglings and 13 Hydras, so that is a huge damage potential. Bly's got a big supply advantage, but he's losing most of his main base, most of his tech. Welmu, supply block though, we can see that the Hydras, the Zerglings clearing apart everything, all of the Mutalisks coming back around to try and deal with this standing force, but there's only a handful of Stalkers here, and the Mutas alone will be able to deal with those very quickly. The rest of the army in the wrong position entirely, so if the Colossi gets taken out after these Stalkers are dead, then ultimately this just means that Welmu is not going to have the damage output to deal with the Hydralisks, and therefore I'm expecting to see a GG very shortly, and I'm not quite sure why the game's lagging. This is something new. I've got a BC computer, so do not know why I would be doing that, but these mutas are feeling very confident. They do have the +1 air attack upgrades, and so they are tearing through the Stalkers, and Welmu will GG any second. He's got no other option of what to do. The Stalkers, the Sentries, all going to go down. A huge count of Mutalisks there. Basically no production facilities remaining, and there we go, GG, and game 1 goes to Aces Bly. So if you enjoyed that, like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe, then flick over to my channel, and I'll see each and every one of you at game 2 in just a second. I'm Madals, see you there.